As you can see, we do have quite the bit of palette to go through today.
What is up, everyone? Welcome back to my channel, and if you are new, welcome. My name is Meg, and normally I'm pretty great at remembering, to film intros and outros, but today was an epic fail. But as you can tell, rest assured by the title, this is another decluttering video. This is the final decluttering video in my series. So if you are not familiar with my other videos, be sure to give them a check out. If you would like to subscribe, be sure to do so. I do a lot of reviews, tutorials, makeup organization videos, all of that fun stuff. Be sure to put the notification bell on so that way you're notified when my videos go live, so you can be a part of Power Hour. The first hour my video is live, I'll be in the comments to hang with you guys. So buckle up, grab a snack, grab a drink. We got a lot of eyeshadows and a lot of eyeshadow palettes to get through today, and let's go ahead and jump in it. So I have been collecting eyeshadow palettes. It is my most used, most bought, most held on to product. So getting rid of this is going to be a process to me because eyeshadow palettes are so pretty. They're so unique. There's so many different purposes. You may want to hold on to something for like one specific color. So for me, I feel like eyeshadow palettes are probably the most difficult thing to declutter. But I do want to start off with a very special palette first. This is the Urban Decay Ammo palette. This is the palette that had me fall in love with Urban Decay, fall in love with makeup. It was the very first high-end purchase that I ever made. Urban Decay caught my eye about 10 years ago when I would want to say when I was 19 is when I really first started getting into makeup. I'm 29 right now, so it's like literally 10 years. Urban Decay was really the only brand in Sephora at that time that had color, that was edgy, that had a different vibe to them. They weren't so pristine and proper and preppy, I guess, if you would. They had skulls and stuff like for their design. Their names were controversial. They pushed the envelope with their packaging, and also with their color selection. So I was really drawn to Urban Decay. I really wanted to get some colorful shadows. So this is the very first eyeshadow palette I ever purchased in my entire life. That is higher end, and I'm never getting rid of it. I don't care how crusty, dusty, expired it is. This palette is staying with me forever. I will never get rid of it. Now, not every palette is going to have this long of an explanation to it. This is just a very special palette to me, so I wanted to showcase this one first. Speaking of Urban Decay, these I am only keeping for collection purposes. These three I haven't worn in years. Naked Heat, I have a review video on it. Again, with a lot of these eyeshadow palettes, you can look back at my channel and I will have reviews on, I think, every single palette I mentioned in this video. So if you're curious about it, scour my channel if you want to learn more or see how things perform, and what my thoughts at the time were. This is another one. That is a collector's item that's never getting thrown away. This was new for Urban Decay because I feel like they were so, I guess, controversial, so to say, with their bright, colorful shades. They weren't really fitting in at Sephora, so I feel like this Naked palette was like the palette that just put them on the frickin' map. It is just a palette of beautiful nudes. And it's just interesting, again, looking at the history of makeup. I promise not every palette is going to have this long of an explanation, but just looking at the history of makeup, there's literally 2 mattes in this palette and the rest are shimmers, because about, I want to say like, what, 8, 7 years ago when this palette first came out in makeup, nobody was really putting matte shadows in their crease, and I know that sounds weird. Like you would be putting Smog in your crease, or Dark Horse, or Hustle. Like those are colors that would go into your crease, and it was kind of a satiny look. It wasn't anything super shimmery, like Zycar is very glittery, very shimmery. That was definitely not going in people's creases, but these other colors down here were. So it's interesting to me, and I remember a couple years ago it popped up on my time hop the other day that I was tweeting at Urban Decay and said that they should come out with an all matte palette from like 6 years ago. So it's just interesting how makeup just evolves and how different it is in even the last 10 years.
So of course I have Naked 2. This is oh my god, I love taupey eyeshadows. This is probably my favorite Naked palette out of the three just because it is so cool toned. I kind of hope cool toned shadows make a comeback in 2019. I feel like 2015 through 2018 was very warm tones taken over. I hope to get some taupes in my life for 2019. And then Naked 3 is just a gorgeous palette. It is all rose gold. I also was a huge fan of this palette as well. I definitely like the cooler tones that were in here. So 2 and 3 really spoke to me, and Naked was just a staple that just about everyone had. So I passed on the smoky palette. As much as I hate warm tones, it doesn't make sense because I have so many warm tone palettes because so many other people love them and they work for them. So I think I'm buying warm tone palettes to try to convince myself I can make it work and like it. But Naked Heat just wasn't it for me. I didn't like the formulation. It just wasn't working. This is a palette that I held on to that I was like, oh, maybe I'll return. And I just wish I would have returned it, to be honest. For collecting purposes, I'm going to hold on to it because I'm clearly a palette hoarder. Alright, another Urban Decay palette. This is a Kristen Leanne. I absolutely love this palette. If you can still get it, it may be on sale. It is such a good handy palette to have. I love this coral peachy color, 1212. It's amazing. It's like the perfect everyday palette for traveling. You can create so many different looks and easy, flawless looks. I love the formulation of this palette. It is awesome. Now let's talk about Dose of Colors. This is the Marvelous Mauves. I really like the formulation of their matte shadows. I'll get into another palette in a minute, but I just absolutely love mauves. And again, it's cool tone, so right up my alley. This is the first collab Dose did with Katie and Desi here on YouTube. So this is something that I feel like I'm just going to hold on to for a little while longer. I haven't used these shades in a long time. But for collection purposes, I feel like it's not time to part way with it quite yet. This is a Lorac Matte Pro palette. I think that this is an amazing palette if you're a beginner, if you like more natural, wearable, easy breezy everyday looks. This has every single color that you could possibly need. I used this for months on end when I first got it. I did my wedding makeup with this. I think the formulation of these shadows are just absolutely amazing. This is seriously, a great nude palette. Here I have the Morphe 24G. Again, I thought it was something that I would really like. Like, this color really spoke to me, but it didn't perform quite how I wanted it to. The shimmers in Morphe are always nice. It's just their matte shadows are very hit and miss. So this one, I think I'm going to see if my friend wants it and try to declutter it. Throughout this entire series, this is going to be the last one in the series, but in case you missed my message in my other videos, I'm not really donating any of this makeup because a lot of it is expired and I've used all of it. So the things that I feel like I can salvage, I'm seeing if I can give to friends, but most of it is going in the trash. This is the Sephora Minnie Mouse palette. I had a friend that got this in PR, sent it over to me, and it was okay. This was when colorful palettes weren't really much of a thing, so I was really happy to have this. I just felt like the shadows weren't that pigmented. I kind of had to build them. A little of them were chalky, but it was really my first and only experience with Sephora brand. I do think it's a really cute little idea. It's like a nice little clutch. Kind of chunky to travel with, but this is something I'm discarding too. This is something that didn't open. This was a free gift in Ulta. I'm probably going to see if I can give this away to somebody. This is the Ulta X NYX little eyeshadow palette. I really just have no desire to even open it and use it. That's kind of why it's just been sitting at my desk. This is the Tarte Lit palette by Tarte. I don't think I ever used this once. My husband got this for me for Christmas the one year, and I think he got me a bunch of eyeshadow palettes, so I just never got around to using it. But this will be in an upcoming video because I'm going to try to do a full face of makeup that I bought but never used kind of vibe. So this is definitely going to be a palette featured in that, and from there I'll know if I want to hold on to it or not. This is another palette that I'm getting rid of. This is a Nikki collab with Too Faced. It led to quite the controversy when it came out. I didn't mind the palette. I genuinely liked it, but I just haven't used it, so I'm going to have to let it go. And here is a Too Faced Everything Nice palette. I was freaking obsessed. This came with everything. Bronzer, highlight, blush, a little contour shade. It even came with some brushes. It smells like chocolate. I just absolutely love this. I was so thrilled when I got this gifted to me for Christmas one year. And I did use this palette a lot at the time. But again, other eyeshadow palettes came out. I haven't touched it in quite some time. I held on to it for collection reasons, but now I'm ready to let it go. Does everybody go into this much explanation when getting rid of stuff, or is it just me? This is a Morphe 35W palette. It just didn't do much for me, so I'm going to go ahead and pass this along to my friend. I think I used it a handful of times, but again, Morphe, when it first came out, I feel like their formulation just wasn't the best. Their matte shadows, like I said, very hit and miss. Here we have another Urban Decay. This is a Kaleidoscope palette with Kristen Leanne. I friggin' love this palette. I love Urban Decay shadows. To me, I'm so glad Kristen did this collab with them and chose the colors that she did, because this, to me, is Urban Decay. It screams Urban Decay. This is what they are all about, with the bright, rich shadows. The formulation of their shadows is just absolutely magical. I adore this palette. And this black gives Blackout a run for its money. Blackout is probably the mattest, blackest eyeshadow in the entire makeup world, and 13th Floor definitely has it running for its money. Here I have the Soft Glam palette by Anastasia. This is my first ABH palette that I ever bought, and I wasn't super impressed by it. The formulation is okay. The shadows are okay. It's just not something that I personally love. Like this color story just right through here isn't necessarily my favorite. I mostly got the palette for the shimmers right here and for this dusty rose color. And Cypress Umber is a really nice color too. Orange Soda isn't bad, but the rest are just kind of like, eh. I'm gonna be trying to push myself to use this palette more in 2019. Here we have the Vault Collection by Morphe. I have a whole series on this. I didn't think that these palettes were terrible by any means. It's just like a typical Morphe, like you're not going to be getting like the most amazing blendability or quality, but I didn't think that it was terrible by any means at all. Yes, some of the colors you do have to work with them a little bit more, but I do appreciate the selection that you got in all these palettes, and I thought it was clever, just the little color stories. So these I'm holding on to. Up next is this Morphe palette. I think I'm gonna let it go because it's rare if I reach into this anymore. This is the 12P palette. I loved it because, again, back in the day, it was really hard to come by eyeshadows with bright, colorful shades. These are really, really pigmented, but it's so old, it is just crusted and dusted, so it is time for it to go. And the pink in this palette definitely will stain your lid. I know there's a whole controversy with James's palette, but this pink stained my lid, actually legitimately stained it, where I haven't had extreme staining from the James palette. But because this is just so old and probably way expired, I'm gonna let it go. Moving on to new colors, this is the Take Me Back to Brazil. This was featured a lot in my channel towards the end of summer and beginning of fall. I absolutely love this. If you are looking for a colorful palette that is affordable, I know I can't ever remember the price, but it's either $14 or $18, and you can get it at Ulta, so if you don't like it, you can easily return it without having to worry about ordering and returning online. I did a comparison video comparing this to the James Charles palette, so I will try to remember to link that up above. If you're debating getting the James Charles palette, but you're not sure if you have $40 or want to spend the $40 on it, I think that video could be really helpful in making your decision, but I absolutely love this. Anytime I have a colorful look, I'm always reaching for this palette. Speaking of color, I made my first Jeffree Star Cosmetics Thirsty. This is my first Jeffree Star Cosmetics makeup purchase. So I was really happy with the quality of these shadows. I love the bright pops of color. As much as I don't like warm tones, I always am thinking about blood sugar because I feel like I need it. But yeah, I thought the quality of these shadows were really great. You don't need to pack a lot on. The payoff is there. I just love these three colors. And then these coral colors right here are really nice, and the shimmers are pretty decent. More color. Here is a Vice palette by Urban Decay. I still dip into this every now and then. These nude shadows are like my perfect cool tone nudes. Like, I think it's the most used shadows in this entire palette. I love Urban Decay's shadow quality. At least back in the day, it was amazing. The most recent thing I tried was the Kristen Leanne collection. So I can't speak on their matte palettes that they've recently been coming out with, but they have always been killing the game in my opinion. And then again, for collection reasons, I feel like I can't like let go of Urban Decay palettes, so I'm still holding on to this for now. Here I have the Huda Beauty Desert Dusk palette. I kind of wish I could return this. I just didn't use it as much as I wanted. The color payoff was really disappointing. This is not very vibrant on your lid. The shimmers in here are kind of a hot mess. I'm just not a fan of the overall formulation. And again, I felt like I really had to pack the colors on. I feel like there's just better eyeshadows out there. Here we have the infamous 35O. This is debating. I'm still debating if I'm going to see if my friend wants it or if I'm just going to keep it for myself. I wanted to love this palette. It was all over YouTube. If you were on YouTube, you are well aware of how every single influencer uses palette nonstop. I just couldn't find myself to get the blendability that the bigger influencers were getting. The palette just didn't work for me. It wasn't as pigmented. It was patchy. I'm just tempted to hold on to it because this shimmer is absolutely stunning, and so is this one. But then it's like, it's not really, it's so much space for just two colors to hold on to. So I think I'm just going to have to give this another go and debate if I'm going to see if my friend wants it or if I'm just going to keep it. I know I should get rid of it, but I'm not ready. I'm not in that acceptance phase yet. Okay, so more Urban Decay. I love Urban Decay. I love Gwen Stefani, so of course I had to get the collab with it. This, again, it was a really great neutral palette when it came out. It would have been a really great palette for wedding makeup, for everyday makeup. I, again, live for the formulation of their mattes. Their shimmers are gorgeous. I got so much use out of this. And it's just something that I can't part with because, like I said, I can't part with Urban Decay. And the last Urban Decay palette is their 15th anniversary palette. This is my favorite Urban Decay palette that they have ever came out with. Omen is a life-changing shade. It is a dual chrome. It has a shift from blue to purple, and it is just stunning and can transform any look. I also really love Deep In, and like this whole middle row just like speaks to my life. Half Truth is like a purpley gray color, and it's just so unique. You don't see other brands coming out with colors like this. I would say like probably the closest thing is maybe Jeffree Star Cosmetics coming out with similar vibes of Urban Decay, but this is what makes me love Urban Decay and why I fell in love with the brand. And it just came in such nice little packaging. The lid is stuck in here, but it's just pretty. Here is the Tarte Pro palette by Tarte. And I did get good use out of this when it first came out. Is it my most favorite eyeshadow palette in the world? No, but I did like the formulation of the shadows. I thought they blended easy. They could be a little bit more pigmented. I wasn't a huge fan of the shimmers in here, but if you like more muted purples, Tarte seems to be the brand to go for that. So when this palette came out, I did like it a lot at the time, and just for collection purposes, I'm still holding on to it because I just can't part with it. I could probably purge so much of my eyeshadow, but I can't wrap my mind around it because it just gives me anxiety thinking about it. This is, again, similar to the Tarte Lip palette. I got it for Christmas and never really got the chance to use it. So I think I'm going to see if my friend may want this, and then if not, I'm going to hold on to it and try to force myself into using it to see what I think about it because I've never touched it. Not really eyeshadow, but I do have my Mayron Paradise paint palette that I like. I need to utilize more. Mostly got it for Halloween looks, but I need to pull this out some more to play with. Here I have the James Charles palette, which we've all seen a million bajillion times by now. I have a full 7 videos on this. I did an entire week worth of videos on this palette, a whole series, so I will try to remember to link that playlist down below. I did different tutorials, addressed different controversies. Again, I have that comparison video with the BH palette, so if that interests you, be sure to check it out. And last but not least, I saved my top 3 favorite eyeshadow palettes of all time for last. In 3rd place, we have the KKW X Mario palette. This palette impressed me, knocked my socks off. I think that KKW Beauty, think what you want about Kim, but she has some serious quality stuff. I got the entire collection. I love the formulation and color of the lipstick that came with it. The lip glosses is an amazing formula too. These shadows blend so easy. They're so pigmented. The shimmers are just absolutely stunning. So if you were thinking about buying from her, I can at least speak on the Mario palette. It is absolutely fantastic. Fantastic. Obviously, this video is getting a little bit too long here. It's starting to lose my talking ability. But it just has a great range. It does have a cool tone brown in there. It has warm tones. It has 2 pops of colors. The most beautiful bronzy shimmers. I just love it. And I love that there is a cream shadow in here. I reach for this constantly. I absolutely love it. I feel like you can create endless looks with this palette. And similar things are about to be said about the next 2 palettes. My second favorite palette, and probably second most used palette ever, is the Dose of Colors Desi and Katie palette. I have never in my life, out of all these palettes I just showed you, never ever experienced a matte formulation like I have with the mattes that are in this palette. They are butter, they are magic. You can blend something out, I kid you not, in 20 seconds. Like, I can get my fastest eye looks done with this palette because the blendability and pigmentation is there, and it's just like this perfect balance of both, and it's just absolute magic. These glitters and shimmers, whatever you want to call them, are unlike anything I've ever seen. You can also layer the glitters, so if you want this to be a pink, put this down first, put this gold one on top of it, and it will lighten it. You can mix these 2 together. Like, any combination of the glitters is just honestly endless, the way that you layer them and the way that you can stack them up. It can give you any kind of look that you could possibly need. If you have a chance to get your hands on this palette, I really don't think you'll be disappointed. I don't know of anyone that really disliked this palette, so absolutely love it. And last but not least is the original Jaclyn Hill palette by Morphe. This is my favorite Morphe palette. I absolutely love this palette. It's my most used palette of all time. Anytime I'm traveling, this palette is going with me. I absolutely love this color selection in here. If you need a couple pops of color, you got it, but it's a mostly beautiful nude palette. The shimmers in here are absolutely stunning. I can create endless looks. The formulation of these shadows are unlike any other Morphe palette that I've ever tried. They actually blend. They're actually pigmented. If you had a bad taste of Morphe in your mouth, I mean, this is the one thing that I highly, highly, highly recommend and suggest that you try if you haven't given it a shot. I don't think you'd be disappointed. This is another palette, again, that a lot of people have and that a lot of people love. I would definitely say it is my most holy grail eyeshadow palette that I have. So now I'm going to quickly go through my individual shadows, how I have them organized, what I'm keeping, what I'm not keeping. Spoiler alert, this is what I'm keeping, so we'll go through that in a minute. Here I just wanted to talk about eye primers, stuff like that. This Morphe primer, I don't love it, but I bought it and it's supposedly the cheapest option to make the James Charles palette work. So if I want my shadows to look decent wearing that palette, I'm kind of forced to hold on to it. It was $10. I think you can find better. I'm really interested in the P. Louise base, so if anyone's tried that, let me know how you got along with it. I also have the NYX glitter base. This is absolutely amazing. If you have like a very flaky shimmer or glitter or a loose pigment, this will hold down the house and have it stick and look flawless and beautiful. It is easy to blend out, easy to work with, and affordable, so I highly, highly recommend it. Here I have some brow powders that I had collected. These are not good shades for me, but I was using them as eyeshadow, so it's kind of a dupe. Like, I got it as a brow powder, didn't really work for me, so to make it work, use it as eyeshadow. Most of this stuff came in Ipsy bags, and it's just stuff that I never touched or used. This is the City of Color Shimmer Shadow. Never really got into it or felt the desire to use this color. This is a NYX mineral eyeshadow in the shade Golden. I'm just not a huge fan of super gold, so I kept the white shade Angelic, which is right here. This one I do like and I use, so I'm keeping it. This one I don't really use, so I'm going to gift it away. Here I have some balm shadows. Again, never really reached for these little samples. That's kind of why I canceled my Ipsy bag, because like I was getting these products, I would swatch them and then I would throw them in my drawer, never look at them again. They seem to be nice, but again, I just don't reach for individual shadows ever. And here's the last one, the Hot Mama by the Balm. It's actually really pretty, but again, I don't reach for it. This is at least 12 years old, so it's time for it to go. It was a cream eyeshadow, but I absolutely used it until it was pretty much unusable, so that's why that's going. This is a Wiki Luxe shadow. It just smells like chemicals, so I don't even want to touch this or use it anywhere near my face. That is another thing I didn't like about some Ipsy products, is that you would get shady stuff like that. This is another Ipsy bag thing that I'm keeping to force myself to use to see if I like it, because I've never tried an Urban Decay highlighter outside of the Kristen Leanne palette. So technically this should have been in my highlighter video, but you know. Here are some more Ipsy bag finds. These are Ofra individual shadows. Again, I'm trying to hold on to them to force myself to use them to see if I like it, but I just don't ever reach for the individual stuff. I feel like maybe if I got a Z palette or something similar, maybe I would be more apt to. This is Firebird. It is by Urban Decay. It is a beautiful dual chrome. It's like a peachy red shift. It is stunning. It came in an Ipsy bag and I love it. Here I have Naked Cosmetics. Again, I don't reach for any of this stuff nearly enough, but it is absolutely gorgeous. It is a loose pigment. It sticks fine, but if you really wanted to pack it on, you could just use the glitter glue and you would be good to go. This is in the shade Sierra Nevada and Desert Sunset. Yep. Here is some glitter I got off of Amazon that I got for Halloween looks or avant-garde looks. So I'm definitely keeping that. Here I have some ColourPop shadows. This is in the Super Shock shadow in the shade Catnip. It's gorgeous, but I never really reach for it, so I think I might, you know, throw it into my little gift bag for my friend. And here I have the shade Hanky Panky, which is a nice, but I just never use it or reach for it. Here is Pure Glitter by Too Faced. This is in the shade Glitterly. I want to say this came with the collab that they did with Nicki years ago. So it's just nice. I'd rather collect glitters and stuff to have than individual shadows. And then here is the Angelic shade in the e.l.f. Mineral Eyeshadow that I showed earlier. Here I have another glitter. This is from the brand Marks. It's called Foiled Again. This came in an Ipsy bag. Just a really nice gray pigment. And now I'm getting glitter everywhere, which is great. Here's another pigment that I absolutely love. This is the NYX Ultra Pearl Mania. This is in the shade Pearlina. It is stunning for the inner corner, or if you wanted to do a cut crease, it is beautiful. A little bit of this goes a long way. I was consistently using this for years and hardly made a dent. Again, it's just a little bit messy with the packaging. And then last but not least, I do have actual glitters. This was it was like a glitter tattoo kit on Outlook for a couple of dollars. It was on sale. But I thought it would be really great to have these glitters on standby if I wanted to use it for makeup looks or avant-garde looks. So I have a nice gold glitter, like a tealy green glitter. This is like a dark purple. It is so beautiful and like such an Urban Decay shadow, or Urban Decay color. I love it. It's like a purpley gray. This is a straight up purple, and then I also have a magenta. So even just going through this, I decided to declutter even a couple more of these loose individual shadows. So this is kind of what I'm left with keeping here. Get it together. So So another makeup goal for 2019 is to just use up this stuff right here and see if I can make my way through. Got through all my eyeshadows. Thank you so much for watching and making it through this video with me. Most of these are keepers. Right now, this is kind of my pile that I'm getting rid of, so I got rid of some. I know down the line I'll be able to get rid of more. I just can't fathom letting go with them right now, so. Anyways, if you enjoyed this decluttering series, thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on my future content. Feel free to check out my other videos that are popping up on the screen right now. If you would like to follow me on social media, I'm MakeupByMegB everywhere. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell. Let me know in the comments below what your favorite eyeshadow palette of all time is. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye, everyone.